It's the Bilbrey and Clark Show. Two middle-aged troublemakers, no script, zero political correctness, and maximum opinions. If you're looking for a safe, polite chit-chat, you're in the wrong place. So get ready for a no-filter dive into current events, pop culture, and maybe even a midlife crisis or two. With plenty of sarcasm, laughter, and perhaps a profound thought from time to time. Tune in, turn it up, and let's roll, because this is the Bilbrey and Clark Show.
And it really didn't happen again. That's insane.
What the hell is wrong with you?
Do you ever, is your mouth ever shut? No, it is not. Is your mouth ever shut and you feel like you've got a hair on your tongue?
Yeah.
And you do it and you look and it's an eyelash?
No.
Have you never had an eyelash on your tongue?
Never.
So here's the thing. I feel like, and you tell me, because you're like the resident nurse on the show, EMS person, so you'll be able to tell me this. Is it possible for an eyelid to get like into my eye and work its way down and come out my mouth?
Okay. Being a medic or even a nurse, I have no freaking clue. That's not like an emergency type thing.
No, but you should know.
If somebody called 911 for a stupid ass question like that, I'd be like, "Go back inside."
Yeah, right. Well, I feel like, though, but I feel like I know the answer. I mean, I know that you can stick things in your nose and then come out your mouth or vice versa. So I feel like, because that's the only thing I can think of. I don't know why else, because it's not like it's like, oh, I just licked something and I got an eyelash. Yeah.
Or just a thought.
Uh-huh.
Eyelashes will fall on your cheek.
Yeah.
And then, people will do this or whatever.
And that's a good possibility. But sometimes they're way, way back there. And I get it. I'm like, how did that eyelash? That came from inside my... I don't know. If somebody's out there, please let us know. You can do that. It's very easy. All you've got to do is email the show. You can do that by...
Maybe you should Google it. Ask a medical professional.
Well, I would do that if we weren't on the show currently. It's almost like I probably shouldn't be talking about this. Anyways, this is a show. This is the Bilbrey and Clark show. I'm Christopher Bilbrey. And
I'm Rachel Clark.
That's Rachel Clark. I was going to say it. I was going to say I'm Bilbrey and that's Rachel Clark. I was going to do it this time because you said you were screwing it up, but whatever.
And welcome to the Bilbrey and Clark show.
Did you say it right? Yeah. Okay. This is
did
episode.
say it right.
Yeah, you did. That was great.
Screwed up once, and you never let me live it down.
Episode.
I'm new to this.
3 episodes in, and we still don't have a beginning right. So, well, this is the 3rd episode. We've made it this far. We have officially got to the point where we are better than 99% of everybody else. So that makes me happy.
That's so sad.
Isn't it crazy? There's somebody else that I think recently has reached out and asked me if I can help them. They want to do a podcast with a friend of theirs. And the idea that they're doing sounds so good. I want to be on that show too. I'm like, I can't tell you. I'll tell you off air. You know them. You absolutely know them. And it's, I think it'll be a great show, and it's so wild, and the name they picked is gold.
Well, then let's just shut our show down.
I know, right? Brandon Rudd from my other show, shameless plug, The Political Spotlight, live 5 nights a week, Sunday through Thursday at 9 p.m. on YouTube, The Political Spotlight. And
you have a co-host on that one too, don't you?
Brandon Rudd, yes, I do. He's been MIA for a while, but he still helps out. I think that's who you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Well, producer.
Never met him. So I'm like, I know there's a co-host, but I've never met him before.
Oh, yeah, yes,
it's kind of like what you say about my husband. He's a mysterious creature that nobody believes exists.
Yes, right.
And I feel that Brandon is a mysterious creature that I don't believe he exists. I feel like you made him up.
Yes, have you never seen him on the show?
Never.
That's interesting. It's been a long time since he's been on the show, but he's been he's getting his master's. His wife's working on her doctorate. They moved, and
Oh, they're
so
smart people.
they're definitely doing some smart stuff at the moment. So that's the issue. But he
We're
helps out
here
with he
doing
helps out
podcasts.
behind the scenes. But he said, I was talking to him and I was like, he said, she comes in and does like flawless on the politics. He was like, you should have just did an offshoot of the political spotlight and made it been like
The non-political spotlight.
the political spotlight, like lights out edition or something like that. And I was like, so I'll keep that in the back of my mind when I start my fourth show with someone. But a lot of things going on. We're having great feedback on the show so far. I feel like that's going good. What?
It's insane.
Mm-hmm. That's going well. And I want to tell everybody, because everyone's like, wait a minute, what we're saying, you guys are still nuts. So you can listen to the show. You can watch the show here on YouTube. And that's easy. That's great. That's how we want you to watch the show, so you get the entire experience to be able to listen to us and hear us. None of that's good. But you can also listen to us in podcast format. You can get us at Bilbrey Clark Show.fireside.fm. Bilbrey Clark Show. I think that's what it is. Yeah, it is. Bilbrey Clark Show Fireside.
And who fucks up the entrance?
Yeah, right.
Me?
Bilbrey Clark Show.fireside.fm is the kind of like the website to get to the podcast, the audio podcast. But then you can also find us on iTunes and Spotify and Amazon Music. You can say, like right now, if you're listening to this on YouTube, you can say, hey, Alexa, turn on the Bilbrey and Clark Show, and it'll do it. Now, I know from my days on my first show, the Perception is Reality, that if I'm saying that in people's houses and it's loud enough, that will have just turned on their Alexas. So that's why I just did it like that. So, you can find us everywhere if you're interested in doing that. And listen to all the great stuff that we're going to be talking about. The last two shows have really kind of been like wah wah downers, and I kind of thought like maybe we would go in a happy for like the third show, but I'm afraid to say I don't think, like, look, we'll try to make it as happy and say a bunch of stupid shit.
It will be happy.
It'll be really good, but I think that it might still also be a little bit of a downer, but I promise eventually it will be cool. We'll talk about really fun, happy stuff and real personal stuff and things that people will absolutely love. But if you're watching this when it first airs, this episode 003, will be airing on Saturday, October 11th. And so we are in the month of October, which is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So that's cool. It is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I should have worn
my Breast Cancer Awareness fire shirt, but
you can do that in next week, episode 4.
I still won't because of the department.
Oh yeah, that's fine. Maybe you could scratch that off. But and listen, that's a really serious thing for everybody out there, for the women in your lives, mothers, daughters, sisters, aunts, teachers, your mom, whatever, girlfriend, wife, your wife and your girlfriend. Tell them, to get checked and to do all of that stuff or whatever. It's very important. And the reason that I know that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month is because Panera Bread has the most awesome bagels ever in the month of October. They are raspberry because it's pink, So they're raspberry breast cancer awareness ribbons, and they are heavenly. And that's the reason that I know.
I thought you were going to say the reason why I know Breast Cancer Awareness Month is because my Aunt Judy died of breast cancer, because that's what I was going to say was my Aunt Joyce died of breast cancer. And you're talking about bagels.
Yeah, bagels.
We are not the same.
We are the same. Bagels. So anyways, if you want some amazing bagels, you can go there. I found out that after October goes away, that they still have those same bagels, but they have them in their regular round form. But the bagel does not taste the same. It's the little ribbon that they twist them into that makes them so much better. So,
No,
and
I
they
believe
support
that.
breast cancer. So like some of the money goes to it. So like I'm feeding my fat ass, but also doing a good thing too. So
No, I do believe the shape changes things because the Reese cups, regular Reese
yes,
cups, do not taste the same as the peanut butter eggs. They're like the pumpkins.
yes.
They're so much better when they're in the egg or in
Yes.
form.
I don't like, oh no, you're saying the wrong thing. I can't eat the pumpkin or the egg. I can eat the Reese cup, the regular Reese cup, but I cannot do, you're going to have to get rid of the coughing.
I can't help
What's
it.
wrong with you? Maybe you should stop smoking.
Probably.
That's not this episode. We'll have like an episode where we stop you from smoking. My mom stopped smoking when my dad died. They weren't married or whatever, but my parents were divorced, but my mom stopped smoking like the weekend that my dad died. And
Well, I mean, if Greg dies, I'll tell
yeah,
him that. Hey, Greg, I'll quit smoking when
you'll
you die.
quit
That's what
smoking.
Bilbrey said to do.
Right. Well, first of all, you'll have to get divorced and be married like for 30 years to someone else. But then, like, if that happens, but yeah, no, yeah, you probably should, for your health.
Mind your business.
For your, what was that?
I'm cold.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I forgot. Hey, you know what you could do? If you're cold, you could buy a Bilbrey and Clark. Take two. A Bilbrey and Clark hoodie at our merch shop, which you can find right there, right here, right. No, you got to point to right. Nope. The other way. You got to go the other way. No, the other way. You got to go the other
I'm
way.
literally looking at it.
Yeah, but you got to point the other way. You're not pointing there. You're pointing to it.
Okay, I can see the merch in the picture.
I
And
understand.
I'm
Take your finger back. Pull your finger. Yeah. Stop. Nope. Too far. A little bit more. Stop. You're pointing directly to the merch logo.
So
right
it's
now.
opposite of what I see.
Yeah, you're gonna have to learn this movie magic at some point.
Then
you're on my right, and when I point to you, I point left. When I'm pointing to the left right now, isn't that weird?
So am I pointing at you right now?
No. Yeah, now you're pointing at me. That's so weird. Isn't it weird? It's so strange. When people look at this, the room behind me is not like this. It's backwards. It's it blows your mind.
Yeah, my mind's blown right now. Because I'm like, dude, I'm looking at this merch thing. It's right here.
Yeah, it's not there. The people on the screen think that you are mental. Because yeah, you finally just pointed at it the right way. You'll learn these things. It's a hard thing. So October is breast cancer month. That's not what we're talking about. And this is we're goofballs. And again, I say this a lot of the time. We have a weird sense of humor, and this is supposed to be an educational show. It's supposed to be educational and heartfelt and all the things. And so we're going to have fun, but we're also going to talk about a very serious topic yet again. This is Rachel's fault. She's the one that's picking these topics. This is completely her fault. But the month of October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And we got to talking about this, and obviously I'm a man. I've been in relationships with women. I do not believe in raising your hand to a woman.
Not your voice.
Hey, people fight, argue, whatever, that's fine. But I think when it crosses the line into like mental abuse, that's then another issue. And everybody knows mental abuse can be just as bad, if not maybe worse than physical abuse.
Oh,
I mean, physical abuse is bad in the moment and can hurt and can take your life, can be really bad. But the mental abuse, verbal abuse, any kind of the abuses, no abuse is good to children or just, being an asshole out to private people, but specifically hurting the people in your family, domestic violence. People think immediately, first off, that it's just meaning man, husband and wife, or boyfriend and girlfriend. It doesn't. It can mean father and son, mother and daughter, son and mother, father and daughter. It can mean any kind of a domestically related. Technically, I think probably it could be stretched to roommates. If you have two roommates living in a domestic situation where they live in the home and there's violence, I could see someone stretching that and doing that. So it's when you're in a family situation, everybody knows what domestic violence is, and so that's what this month is. And we've both had experience in different ways, and we thought maybe we could talk about some of our experiences and some things that have affected us and others that we know, and that might be something. And if we can help people out there or whatnot, then that we've done a good thing. And obviously, if you or someone you know are dealing with domestic violence, I will get a phone number and we'll put it up here in just a second. But obviously, reach out, contact somebody, contact a family, friends, obviously 911 or your local non-emergent police number. You don't have to put up with it. There's things that they can do for help, and we will get a hotline here in a minute and put it up. But I will let you kind of take it away and tell why you think that this is an important topic for us to discuss in this episode, specifically when it's airing in October, but anytime for folks to hear.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that obviously in my career I dealt with a lot. And until I think so many people know a story of someone they know that's abused, and you'll just hear that common thing of, oh yeah, I mean, she was a domestic violence situation. Her husband, her husband hit her or whatever. But they don't really understand the depth of how bad domestic violence can be. And it's not just hitting, and it's different things. And I think that also having an understanding of, let's say that you do have someone come to you, or that they're telling you that they're being harmed or mentally or verbally abused. A lot of people do not have the tools or even know what to say or do to someone. So I think that, one, education is everything to everyone, that we can definitely take this time to educate people. And then maybe tell a couple stories. I've got a story, as we were talking about it, with, I say everybody has someone they know that's been in a domestic violence situation. I would like to share a family situation. And two, just really open up that platform, because it's like so many other things. People, it's taboo to talk about it.
Yeah.
Or you don't want to talk about it. So I think that we'll get maybe started with Shelley's story, and then kind of open that platform for even the taboo things and signs to look for, and maybe what you can do if someone ever comes to you to talk to you about domestic violence. Because I've got a pretty personal, you guys will find out, but we'll have some pretty personal stories with this. And in saying that, I'm going to talk about my family situation, but I think Bilbrey knows I'm an open book about anything. But when it comes to like really personal things, I'm not one that just shares stuff. So I clearly have went insane, because I told him before this, I said, hey, do you remember what I said to you? I go, I'm gonna talk about things.
Nothing is off topic.
Yep. And you were like, are you sure you want to talk about this? I go, no, I do. Absolutely do.
Yeah. And then immediately, as soon as we started, you're like, well, everything's basically off topic.
You're so dramatic.
Just immediately, instantly. It was like, yeah, nothing's off topic. But then it's like all of a sudden we're like, all right, take one. And you're like, everything's off topic now. I don't want to say anybody's names. Totally insane.
There was one thing that was off topic. And I said, maybe one day it will not be off topic, but until I really get settled into this, I don't want to cover that one topic.
Yeah, that's fine. I get it. That's no problem.
Do you want to read the article, or do you want?
Yeah, we'll put it up. I'll read it. I do want to say here that I have this up, and we'll put this up at different times during the show. But the Domestic Violence Hotline, I guess this is nationally known, is 800-799-SAFE. That is 800-799-7233. If you or someone you know are in a situation where you need some help, please call that hotline. However, nothing beats 911, and I really beat that into people's heads. This story that I'm going to read you is a real story that occurred back in 2012, and this is your cousin.
My cousin Shelley.
Is that okay? Your cousin Shelley. Talk a little bit about how close were you in age? Like what's the deal with all that?
We were about 2 years apart, and you know how you always have that one cousin that lives out of town, and so when the family gets together, that's your favorite person. You love seeing them. So she would stay at my house sometimes. They lived in Louisville. I went down and stayed with them. You see your cousins that live close all the time, but you always do. I think everybody has that one cousin that you don't get to see necessarily all the time. And so on my grandma White's side, Shelley was the one. We were close in age. We had a blast. That was the highlight of on grandma White's side, getting to see Shelley throughout the year.
Yeah. And so you guys kind of grew up as younger, and you would go down there. She would come to see you, and then, as life happens, you get older and you kind of grow apart, and you move on. But did you guys stay in contact at all, or was it kind of like one of those things that, because I've got cousins that were just like that, and there are some of them that I, live just a couple miles down the road from, and I talk to them on Facebook every now and then. They might watch the show, or we text and maybe a couple times a year. And then there are a couple that I haven't seen in 25 years. So did you, in your adult lives, did you cross paths on Facebook or anything, or was it pretty much like?
I can't remember if she came to my wedding with the girl's dad, because it was a pretty big wedding.
Yeah.
But kept contact shortly out of high school, but then she went to college. We got married, that. And then at that point, it was kind of like we didn't talk.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, Brenda, which is her mom, would call my grandma. We would get the updates. Grandma would always ask about Shelley, and she would keep me updated as to what Shelley, and vice versa,
Sure.
Through the family. So it was always grandma knew to ask how Shelley was.
Tangentially related to like finding out like through family. Yeah. And I've got family like that as well. So, all right. Trigger warning to those out there. Obviously, we're not going to be showing anything nearly as graphic as what happened last episode, but I'm going to be reading this, and this is a trigger warning for those out there that might be worried about stuff like this. So, this is a newspaper article from May 1st of 2012, and it's from WDRB in Louisville, Kentucky. Says the title, "Couple Dead in Middletown After Domestic Dispute." A woman takes out a domestic violence order against her estranged husband, but it's not enough to save her life. Troubling events led up to a murder-suicide in Middletown and left a toddler without parents. Police say the protective order did not stop James Johnson Carr from gunning down his estranged wife, all while their 18-month-old child slept in another bedroom. James Carr and Michele Carr, and you guys called her Shelley. Karyn Carr had an unusual relationship. Police say they were married for some time, got a divorce, and then remarried. But after an incident in April, Karyn wanted James Carr away from her and their daughter for good. According to a police report, that's when she stated he grabbed her by the hair and put a knife to her throat, threatening her. He was charged with assault, which is when a domestic violence order and emergency protective order were taken out. James Carr moved out, but police say early Tuesday morning, James paid no attention to the orders, breaking into the house on Weatherby Avenue using some kind of pry bar. Detectives said that he shot Shelley and then called family members before killing himself. He was distraught over the situation, said Lieutenant Barry Wilkerson with LMPD's homicide unit. I think he made reference to the fact that he shot her. At that point, that's when police were called and en route to the location and found both individuals deceased, laying side by side in the bed. The child was found unharmed in a crib in a room separate from the shootings. Her grandmother is now taking care of the child as of May 1st, 2012. As part of the orders, James Carr was not supposed to have any firearms in his possession, so it's not clear how he got the murder weapon. Police are unsure whether he brought it with him to the home or he found one there. And so that's the first news article that I have. And then the second news article is from the same organization. And it says 911 calls released from murder-suicide in Middletown, Louisville, Kentucky. Wave 3 has obtained the 911 calls made just moments before a murder-suicide at Middletown home. It all happened just weeks ago in the 11800 block of Weatherby Avenue around 2 p.m. last Tuesday morning. Metro police say they found Karyn Michele Carr shot several times. Her husband, James Johnson Carr, then turned the gun on himself. Police say he shot Karyn first and then phoned family members who called 911. I actually got to talk to the guy on the phone, said the caller. He said he got into a fight and shot her. Now, I never heard no gunshots or nothing, quote unquote, from the dispatcher. The couple's 18-month-old was home at the time and was found unharmed. Police say that James had lived in the home 2 weeks prior to the incident. Then the couple, the husband and wife, separated. The husband did actually use a pry bar, some type of tool, to force his way into the home. Obviously, that's when the incident took place, said LMPD Lieutenant Barry Wilkerson. Police said the couple had a history of domestic violence. According to the 911 calls, family members were aware of their troubled relationship. They are in the middle of a marital trouble. I have no idea what's going on, said the caller. Wave 3 discovered that Karyn had an emergency order of protection filed against her husband. After an April 13th incident, Karyn told authorities that James attacked her and threatened her with a knife. She got away and ran into a neighbor's home for help. James Carr was arrested. The Centers for Women and Families say Karyn did the right thing to file the emergency order of protection, but unfortunately, it did not stop this tragedy. There are times when the power of control is all that a person wants, and they don't care if a protective order is in place, said Tamara Reif from the Center for Women and Families. The Center for Women and Families say women shouldn't be discouraged to file emergency orders or of protection in cases where they are in danger. They can work. The centers advise that victims of domestic violence seek help from their family and friends and the shelter. As for the Carr's daughter, police say she is in the custody of her grandmother. And again, that was from just a couple of weeks after the murder back in 2012. So now hearing all of that and, remembering that back to that, what say you?
Well, I can give you some more details on it.
Sure.
Actually, this summer I was talking to her mom, and we got more in depth. So this gentleman not only was awaiting, he was actually awaiting trial or court to be sentenced for other violent things. He had a history of this. This was not, this restraining order was not a one-time deal. I believe it was an ex-wife. I think he had kids with her, terrified of him. afraid to even speak. Oh, there's Shelly. So Shelly was a nurse. Let's just start there. So, I mean, it's definitely not a situation of people think, oh, rich people can't have this happen or vice versa. She had a good career, had things together, obviously had a little one. So, he had a history of violence, but they kept letting him out. I forget when I talked to Shelly's mom how many occurrences, but it was not an isolated, and they just kept letting him out, allowing him. And every time he would be out, he would get into more trouble and they would never hold him in jail. So with this restraining order, they arrest him for assault. She is literally, he holds a knife to her while he's waiting trial for something else, and they don't lock him up. So it shows that she'd been on her computer when she got home from work. They were able to kind of do a timeline. She had been on her computer. He must have broken into the house either while she was on the computer or shortly after she just got off of it. He had shot her in the back, and it looks, from what they said, that she was running down the hallway, like towards the baby, to get away from him. He shot her multiple times. He then puts her on their bed. And when he put her on their bed, he then called Shelly's mom and dad and said, hey, I just killed your daughter. And I think it was something since like, come get your grandkid. And then he killed himself, like in a Romeo Juliet thing, with them side by side in the bed together. After the fact, they find out that he had been stalking her pretty much. His car, he had been living in his car, like in a little field next to them, and had been watching everything that she had been doing, knew the opportunity, and went in and killed her in front of their 18-month-old child. So then I'll go back. She had divorced him. I believe that they tried quite a while, or she had tried to have a baby, or maybe even had miscarriages. I believe that things were not going well. I don't believe he held a stable job, anything like that. She divorces him.
Was he, to your knowledge, was he a drug addict?
I don't know.
Have substance abuse or mental health issues? I really don't
know. Obviously, mental health. I mean,
yeah, sure.
So, she divorces him. I guess was doing really well. And mom and dad said that she just was beating herself up about taking the child away from her dad. And, growing up in a divorced household. And we grew up in a very Christian upbringing. We've talked about this.
Sure.
She really did not want to break up the home for her little kid, her daughter. So she went back to him. When they remarried, he took her last name. So that dude's last name is not Carr. That is my family name. He took her last name, which is Cray to begin with, and then started his reign of terror again.
Yeah, that's. What do you think about that? Men take women's last names when they get married.
I mean,
what do you think about the whole? That's an interesting topic. I was. I've been married a couple of times. We'll eventually talk about all this at some point. And this is not the episode probably for that, but
unless you qualify for what we're talking about.
No, I do not qualify. But I was dating somebody after my last divorce, and I was talking, and I was like, we were talking about like getting married. If you got married, like what would go on, and I was like, yeah, there's not really a reason to get married again. Whatever, but we do whatever we want to do. But if you got married, like, I'm not hurt if you don't take my last name. Like if you want to, that's great. I would be honored. That would be fantastic. And I would love that. But I'm not like, oh my God, you're not taking my last name. Specifically, if you've got children, I'm somebody, I grew up in a divorced family, and I have my father's last name, and my mother was remarried and has my stepfather's last name. So I grew up in a situation where my mother and I never shared the last name. And it was always like, it's always weird when people are like, I don't understand. You and your mother don't have the same. I'm like, what do you mean? You never heard of divorce? Like,
So
50% of Americans get divorced, you idiot. Like,
my husband and I do not have the same last name.
Yeah, right. That's interesting to me, because you're in that situation. So I don't think it's a big deal. But what's very strange is I do know a couple. There's like 3 scenarios that I know. I was just talking to someone else about this the other day. There's 3 scenarios that I know where men have taken the last name of the woman. And
I feel like that's so weird.
I think it's so strange. Like, I am proud. Like, nobody calls me Chris or Christopher. Everybody, like my family, the most deep personal people in my life call me Chris. I prefer that everyone else that don't know me to call me. I prefer people to call me Bilbrey. That's what I prefer to be called. That's what everybody knows me as. I've been known that when I was in school. I've always been called Bilbrey. Then in law enforcement, most of those, people go by nicknames or your last name. I've just always been Bilbrey. Like, I have never, it's been forever since someone calls me my name outside of, whatever, my actual first name. I'm proud of my last name, and like I would never. That's so strange, but like I can imagine cases where like if you were adopted, if you didn't know who your family was, or if like you weren't adopted and you come up weird and whatever the deal is, whatever your last name is, if it doesn't mean anything to you, or maybe if you're a victim of abuse or something like that, and you're like starting over and you're like, look, this marriage is going to be a chance for me to start myself anew and whatever, I could understand it then. But just to be like, man, I really love you and I'm going to take your last name to show you. It's like, I guess it's like sexist. It's no different than a woman taking the last name. So we probably shouldn't be like, what in the world? But it just seems so backwards. It's so weird.
The only time I think it's right if you had like a horrible last name.
Yeah.
That you just did not want to pass on to your children.
Like what?
Let me think. What's one of those crazy...
Well, I just always knew there was the guitar player that played in my band in high school.
Yeah, a guy in my school, his last name was Blower, and his dad's name was Dick.
Yeah, that's really bad. Why would somebody do that? Well, so his name wasn't Dick, it was Richard, but probably went by Dick.
I think he went by Richard, but
I was going to say, surely you couldn't. What? Who would go by Dick?
Well, I don't think he voluntarily went by that.
Yeah. God, what was
the nicest guy in the world?
That.
But that would be.
Yeah,
and also, like, Blower technically isn't horrible, but if you had something,
it's not horrible if your name's Christy,
right,
or your name's Steve. It's horrible if your name is Richard.
Yeah.
If you're Dick Blower, that is horrible. It couldn't get much worse. I always thought last names are so strange to me, because I always thought the guitar player in my band, the people lived across the street from him. I'm going to tell the story. Okay, so I got so many stories. The first story is the people live across the street from him. His last name was Foot. I don't know the first name, but let's just say it's like his first name was John Foot. Foot. Okay? No big deal. He marries his wife, Jennifer Foot, and they have, David and Cindy. Hey, little Davy and Cindy. Foot. So they make an answering machine. My question is, do they say, hello, you've reached the Foots. We're not here right now.
Or the Feet.
If I were him, if I were them, my name would be Foot and her name would be Foot. And when you talked about us collectively, you would call us the feet. I'm telling you, it's my last name, so I can do whatever I want. That guy. I always wanted to know, like, because Foots sounds so weird. Foots, even when you're just like, it's their name, so it's no big deal. It's just Foots. I would be like, yeah, my name is Foot, but when you're talking about all of us, we are the feet.
In plural, it's feet.
Feet, yeah, right. When there's 2 or 4 of us, it's feet. It's got to be. This is the feet, and then they're like, hello, John Feet, and he's like, no, it's Foot. That dude, I would do that if I was him. He probably didn't, but then that brings me up to the other story, and I'm not being mean. I'm just going to tell you how it is. And do you remember MPD officer Brad Arey?
No.
It's so frustrating when I talk to you about people that you should know.
This is the third one today.
Yeah. Yes. I love Brad. I love Brad, and I do not mean him any disrespect. If by God he ever hears this or someone knows, but I've always wondered this, and I'm on his side. So Brad was a wonderful guy. Is a wonderful guy. I think I'm sure he's still alive. I hope he is. He's retired. I've not seen him forever, but he had a little bit of a speech issue. Okay, so when I say his name, I say Brad Arey. Okay,
he says Ehwee.
Ehwee, Brad Ehwee. So I always wondered, like, if I was him and I got married, I was like, what's her last name? Is it Arey or is it Ehwee? Because I feel like I'll put it to you like, well, see, like if I was in this situation, if I was the woman and I married him, I would be like, our name would be Ehwee, because it's however he says it. You know, I don't get to be like, hey, my name's Christopher Bilbrey, and because of your accent, you say Bilbrey or whatever, Bilbrey. It's Bilbrey. You got to say it the way I say it, and if you don't, that's a problem. So I've always wondered that. We got way off topic. I guess that
I'm
would
glad
cause
his name was not Joey Ehwee.
I wish it was. Well, it is. It's close enough because it was actually Bradley Ehwee.
Side note, Ryan Webb didn't come for me, so that's a good thing. But anyways,
I guess he didn't.
As we're talking about, this guy may decide to come after you, feeling that you made fun of him, and I'm
not making fun of him.
I know, but I'm just saying it could be interpreted as such.
No, it cannot. I love you, Brad. I've always loved you. I mean, I'm not going to take your last name or anything, because if I did, we'd be the Ehwees. Anyways, so all right, getting back to
serious stuff.
People will either love it or they're gonna be like, God, this is fucking horrible. So this deal with your cousin, I think it's interesting that the paper articles both made mention of like, well, she had a protective order, but that didn't do her any good. I just am like, don't write that, because women don't need, or anybody that's out there that's getting an order of protection, they don't need any more reason to not get it. Because listen, you should get it. If you're in a situation, first of all, I think we went through a time in America where everyone tried to get protective orders on everybody. Like everybody went crazy about that. And it's like, oh, well, you cut me in line at McDonald's, I'm getting a protective order on you. And you sunk my battleship, protective order. So specifically in our state, in Indiana, they kind of reworked the laws, and they made it to where, like, I couldn't get a protective order against you. People that do that are people who are in domestic situations. So I think that cut down on some of the nonsense, because it was really like flooding the courts and all of that. But the other thing is, like, people are like, well, I'm not going to get a protective order. They're no good. It's just a piece of paper. That's not going to stop them. Protective orders really do a lot of good. I mean, listen, they do. All the people, listen, it's not like, what I mean by this is, out of all the people that get protective orders, we're not hearing about just crazy murders all over the place and all the stuff. People go back and forth and play games and do all that. But you hear of you don't hear of all these cases of people, if they were just total trash and nothing happened, you'd be hearing about all these people getting killed and all this stuff. That does not happen. I mean, that really is few and far between. Now,
But do you know what happens all the time, though? It may
what's
not
that?
be murder, but how often are they're violated? And these people are not put in jail. They violate them, then they go, well, let's go to court about it. No, if you violate a protective order, you should be sitting in jail until,
Oh yeah, no
and
question.
that doesn't happen. Doesn't
Yeah,
happen.
because it is a court order. An order of protection is a court order. You're going against what the judge says. So now let me ask you this: do you think that all protective orders ought to go both ways?
Yeah.
If we get married and you're like, oh God, it's Bilbrey, he's insane, I'm getting a protective order. The minute you get it, should that be like, I can't be around you, but you also can? Because we also have problems like that where they will get it and the woman's like, you can't be around me, but then she'll do whatever, and that's very bad too.
Happens a lot. But
Mm-hmm.
there's so many things that go into protective orders. I mean, to me, they're a joke because one, it depends on what judge it is. So there's no consistency across the board. My daughter used to work as a victim's advocate, and it depends on what judge it was. Certain ones would grant them for everybody. Other ones wouldn't grant them for anything. So then as a woman, you apply for one and then you stress out because it's like, well, what judge am I going before? And that's not just in, that county that my daughter worked, it's every county. Then you run into, I mean, I have been on the scene in a personal capacity and professional, and as a being with a friend, where 911 is called, and then you run into how the cops treat you when you call.
Yeah, because I feel like the big untalked about thing in the room is, I guess that would be an elephant, would be, I think there is a I think there's a stereotype when people hear like, oh, that woman has a protective order. Like, I think people instantly, you said it when we first started talking about this. You're like, look, she's a nurse. You felt the need to protect her. Like, oh, she's a nurse. People think this don't happen to people that have money. There's no reason to do that, but you had to because people think that. People think, oh, she's one of those girls. She's a lower class. This is like, because that doesn't happen, which I think we really have to work to fight back against that stereotype. I think that's a wrong thing. And you are right. Police treat it. The thing is, a protective order works if the judges are the same across the board, if the cops enact things the same across the board. Now, I understand there's different case-by-case basis and things you got to do, but it shouldn't be as up and down, hot and cold as it is, and you are 100% right. I mean, as they're written, if they're enforced and taken the way that they're supposed to be at face value, they would work more than they don't. But the problem is the people aspect of it. They get involved and then they screw it up. So I do agree with that statement. I've been very frustrated at times with protective orders as well, on things as a police officer. And one of the worst things,
What?
I don't know. I know of a situation where there was a man. I got to figure out how to tell this. I know of a situation where there was a man who, it does happen. This is the other thing that happens. So Man was in a relationship. Woman was completely batshit psychopath. She would do the things where she's like slapping herself and burning her neck and doing all that, and then calling the police. And she was doing this and was in the kitchen doing this, smoking cigarettes, viciously calling the police. And the man was sitting in a room, and he would have went to jail that night had the police officers not snuck up around the back of the house and watched what she was doing through the window. Because when they got there and they opened the door, she's like, "I've been beaten," and she was all red and bruised. And had that guy not seen that, had that officer, it was an Albany, Indiana police officer, small town, had he not walked around the back of the house, it was just a miracle from God, and seen that. Because Indiana is like if the woman says, "Hey, there was abuse," and signs it, the man goes. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. And thank God that the police officers witnessed that happening, and they didn't arrest the man, and they let the man leave and take a very small child. The man was able to take the child. And the woman had done all kinds of things. I witnessed the man come out of the house carrying the child, and the woman was running out with a pair of scissors in her hand, like she was going to stab the man. I was in uniform. I wasn't working. I had just gotten off work, and I was interacting with these people. And I was like, "Hey, you need to quit doing that. Like, you need to quit." I was just a very brand new cop, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm going to have to shoot this person." Because like she's now running at us with scissors. I had no clue what was going on.
And dude, you didn't yell, "Ma'am, don't run with scissors. Point them down."
Point them down.
Down pointing.
And the guy that she was chasing after with the small child got inside of a vehicle, and she like started keying the side of it. It was like scissoring the side of the vehicle. I guess that'd be something different. She started taking the scissors down the side of the vehicle. And it was just insane stuff. And so this guy actually ended up filing for an emergency protective order. They would not grant it to him. Again, and this is how it's also, a bad thing. They would not grant him the emergency protective order. They basically just said, like, you got to like hide out, because it was a situation where they were going to go for a divorce. And since there was no legal acting, like he could have the child or she could have the child, whatever, that kind of thing. And the man got an attorney, and I will not name the man. I will name the attorney. And the attorney was Jim Schaefer here in Muncie, Indiana.
I was hoping you were going to say Perry Mason.
Yeah, I watched this in black and white. Yeah, my stepdad had it on the little TV. I love Perry Mason. Anyways, I'm really getting addicted to Gunsmoke. That's a whole
we're
story.
really getting off topic.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about domestic violence. So he told the man, "Hey, we've got court in a couple of days. Just hide out with the child, and once we get the court order and the protective order at the court, we'll be a-okay." And the man asked me, like, "Hey, I've got court coming up. What do I need to do?" And I said, "Well, you need to be there." And he's like, "Well, Schaefer told me that he would go for me." And I said, "You need to go." So he called Schaefer, and Schaefer said, "Nope, you go. You stay where you're doing. Just do your thing. I'll go. I'll be there on behalf of you, and everything will be okay. I'll call you as soon as court gets over." The next day, I call this person. I'm like, "Hey, what's going on with court?" And he's like, "I don't know. Haven't heard anything." We're both of us calling to Schaefer's office. Haven't heard anything. And the next thing I know, I hear over the police radio. I'm working. I hear over the police radio, officers are being sent to an address to look for this man because the woman now has an order of protection and is demanding that the man bring the child back immediately. And if they don't, now that there's paperwork in place, they're going to get the man for kidnapping. And I called the man and I said, "Hey, unfortunately, you got to do this." and he went back and he turned the child over. And that one screw up, and the reason that happened was because the next day the court came, and Jim Schaefer went golfing and didn't actually go to the hearing. And so the man didn't go to the hearing because Jim Schaefer told him not to. Jim Schaefer didn't go to the hearing, and when the woman went, she told, it was Judge John Fike. The man wasn't there to tell his side, and the woman's like, "Oh, boo-hoo, it's all me, it's all me." And he got rid of everything the man said. He granted the protective order for the woman, and that single act changed the absolute rest of the trajectory of that man's life, and it was horrible. So, this stuff is really crazy.
I know a situation that's going on right now in Delaware County courts where girl is crazy and doing exactly that. But I think now with cameras and social, you know what I mean? Like,
it's much different.
Because I can think back to, I know of a family, and I mean, these are like the funny ones that aren't funny, but funny.
Yeah.
Where older married couple, they'd get fighting. I remember walking in the FOP with my parents, and they had been shooting at each other.
Yeah.
And then sitting next to each other, drinking a beer like nothing happened.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've got a million stories of that. Like, I actually had my mom, when my mom married my dad, one of her first instances of meeting his family in Kentucky, the cops had shot up his cousin, uncle, I don't know. And because he would get drunk and beat on his wife. And so the cops ended up shooting him up and killing him. And then the wife is pulling up his shirt and looking at the bullet holes to show everybody the bullet holes in the casket.
God.
And, I mean, and that stuff was just, oh, well, you know what I mean? Like, apparently they went back and forth. The wife and husband fought a lot, and she won.
She won.
And she was proud.
So that's crazy. When we were talking about the situation with your cousin, I was asking you like how you became aware of that and all that. Like, do you want to go into that?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I actually was freshly new into EMS, and I remember working, and my grandma White, who just died in February, and like the sweetest lady and religious, and never, you would think she was almost oblivious to a lot of things because she just lived in her little Christian world and, was always happy to see all of us. And so she called me, and she was like, she told me about Shelly, and she said, "Rachel," she goes, I felt that I had to let you know because I'm worried this could have been you." And so I was like, "What, Grandma?
Why could that be me?"
Yeah. And it made me realize, and then talking, my grandma, I had actually had 2 situations with domestic violence and never talked about it, very rarely. And I'll tell you, this is kind of why I want awareness to this. When the first situation of domestic violence happened to me, where I had a husband that was putting his hands on me, and I mean,
now I want to be clear. This is not your current husband. This is not a thing.
No.
And okay. And
way past.
And
little.
Just okay. So your children, you've got a young daughter now. It's 8, but you have daughters that are what?
27, 28.
27, 28. So they were younger. So I just to be clear to anyone that knows you, maybe not very well, but they know you. So this wasn't your ex-husband, your most recent ex-husband, and it's not your current husband. I want to clear the air for those people.
Right.
Okay. So
this was 20 plus years ago.
Yeah. All right.
One of the instances. Yeah. So I realized, and that my grandma knew. I never would have talked about it. I would have denied it. I would have never, ever, ever admitted that was going on to my grandma, but she knew. And how she knew, I don't know. I think she knew just because he had isolated me. He had done things. But what I was going to say, this is why I really felt the need to talk about this. One, because way back in the day, I don't think I was quite healed. And now, and I also don't like, I've told you before, I don't like the word victim. Yeah. And so for me talking about it, I was like, I don't want people to feel sorry for me about this. Like, I'm not a victim. That was almost offensive of feeling sorry for me.
Yeah.
But I remember whenever I first told the first couple people about it, that it was happening, in real time. You're traumatized. It's the first thing this stuff is happening. And I remember people going, "You're such a strong personality. Like, how could you ever get in that situation?
Oh
How
yeah.
could you ever let people treat you that way? I just can't believe that. I can't see that you would ever let a guy put their hands on you or hurt you or do, and name off things."
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Oh, wow. Well, I definitely won't be talking about this anymore." And then you like shut down. So I don't think that people realize little comments that they can make, little things that they say will completely push someone backward. Where if that's their first experience or first few experiences, they're still trying to figure out, am I going to put up with this? Am I not going to put up with this?
Yeah.
And
Like
what
what
have to take,
happened?
and to make them feel that it's almost like the blame is on me, or that I would be making it up, because no, there's no way I would ever let anything happen like this. So, I want people to be mindful of just how you approach it. If anybody ever talks to you about being physically, mentally, verbally abused, you know, take out their social status, their income status, their personality. Because I can tell you, as like a very strong, people definitely, I think, called me. Would you say I was a strong personality?
Yeah, absolutely.
In my lifelong job of public safety, and even before that, and my daughters are the same way, forced to be reckoned with. But I always had to make decisions. I always had to be that person in charge. So when I wasn't at work, I'm not that personality. I get sick of being the alpha, at work
Yeah.
and those kind of things. So either way, I shouldn't have to justify why I am a personality I am and why it happened. But, you can go back to a million 911 calls, neighbors calling, thinking that he was killing me, um, and the cover-ups because I had kids.
Okay,
So
so real quick, because you came in and you said there were 2 incidents. I want to make sure what we're saying there. You mean 2 different people. You there were
correct.
multiple instances, but there were multiple instances of man 1 and multiple instances of man 2. So
Yep.
not 2 instances of one man, or not one man did once and one man did once. There were multiple times with different people.
Yeah. Um, and I think too, just I'm going to give some examples of things that happened,
Yeah.
and some of them involving police, just also for people to be aware, because statistically, 1 in 4 women have been abused by their spouse, significant other, whatever. 1 in 4 people. And 1 in 3 have been sexually assaulted by someone they're in a relationship with. So, I mean, let that sink in as I'm talking about this. But I remember, we were younger. We went out somewhere. He was a drinker, and we were on a snow advisory. So imagine how much snow was out.
Okay.
The roads were closed, or like down.
Yeah.
And he was adamant in going out. And that's just me. If I'm not a drinker, so I was always the designated driver. Um, we get out, he gets mad at me, kicks me out, and I remember walking in a blizzard with no coat, no gloves, no anything. And I am a 10 to 12 with no snow, 12 minutes from home drive. So we're looking at 10 miles to get home. I
Sure.
did. It's late at night, so not going anywhere. A cop picked me up, gave me permission, got permission to drive me out to home. I mean, every cop in the area knew that he was beating on me at that time. And whenever I say beating, it's not necessarily, not every time was, but when I say beating, things being thrown, held down, choked up against the wall. Um, I can remember calling, like him kicking in a bedroom door at me because I was going in for safety, to call someone, and he would kick in the door multiple times. I could tell you how many times he kicked in a door at me, broke my phone. I bet I went through 15 phones, because that was my way to like reach out, and he would break a phone. I mean, I was constantly replacing a phone. The cops would constantly be at the house. And I remember a neighbor guy literally, he had picked up a big 3-wick candle and had chucked it at me. And the neighbor, I went outside, And he was like, "Hey, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Call the police." And he goes, "I'm not crossing him." So neighbors were afraid of this guy. They'd watched, he had a reputation. He had a standoff with a SWAT team that I did not know until after, things that were hidden.
Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, it is so getting away from him, it's not something that you just do. He isolated me from family. And so, that's something too that I want people to realize is, and looking back, things maybe weren't dealt with the best, but I was isolated from my mom and dad, and they were it was a constant struggle because they hated him as much as he hated them.
Sure.
And I was stuck in the middle. So if I was around them, it was nonstop talking about what a piece of shit he was and how, what a horrible person. But in my mind, I'm thinking, you've never seen anything. Now I know what's really going on.
Yeah.
My parents, they had never seen it. They had never noticed it, that, they did not know for a fact what had actually was transpiring. Now, later on, they had said that the kids had said some things or let him know, the girls were afraid of him.
Sure. So
But
is this something that you did not discuss with them then?
no.
Did you discuss it with anyone, girlfriends?
Mhm.
Okay. So there were people that you talked about it to.
Very few. But he had isolated me from a lot of people. I mean, I really didn't have everybody that I was around was his family or friends. I was not allowed. I mean, like if we went out to eat, I'm a shoe person and I noticed people's shoes.
Okay.
He would like, why are you looking at that person? Dude, I'm checking their shoes out, guy or girl. I mean, it was constantly, I couldn't do anything. We were
Oh.
in a bar one night and some guy was drunk and he had like been trying to go in the bar after some other girl, not me.
Yeah.
Like followed this girl into the bathroom. And so
Oh.
he was standing outside the bathroom door and he made some offhanded comment. And I walk out and I'm like, "Hey," I told the bartender, I said, "Hey, there's a guy that's trying to get in the girl's bathroom." And she's like, "Oh," and I go, "Yeah, I walked through, he was following some girl in, and then, like he was going to walk in." My ex flipped out, busted the guy up, beat the piss out of him to the point that he broke his hand. I mean, like that kind of force of breaking a
Yeah.
hand. He was a complete nutcase. But when you know that your parents hate him so much and you don't know what you're going to do, you're still like figuring it out. I could never go to my parents because then they would be like, "Aha, I was right. I knew he was I knew this
And
was going
again,
on."
it's like the judgment, and you feel judged, and it's like, when you don't need that.
And add in children,
Yeah.
because every woman, obviously, if they're not his kids,
Yeah.
it's like, shit, I'm going to get my kids taken away.
Yeah.
So you keep quiet because you do not want that out that,
Yeah.
dude, if my ex-husband finds out that he's, doing this, then I'm going to lose my kids. So there's
Yeah.
so many things that people don't realize. And it's also, they're not going to leave the first time. They're not going to leave the second time typically. So those cops need to think about it of rather than having that shitty ass attitude of, "I've been out here 8 times this
Yeah.
year." You know what? The more times either she's going to end up dead and there's, or eventually, the more times that if she's calling, she's still wanting it on record. She's
Yeah.
still doing
She's
things.
trying.
It's but then something keeps her from doing it. And it could be the fact of losing the kids, or it could be the fact of, but the cops a lot of times are not very understanding. And
Oh,
I think
no.
sometimes many of them want to be understanding, but they've not been trained or not really ever talked to a woman after they've left to find out, well, to be able to ask that question, "Why didn't you leave? Why
Yeah.
didn't you do this?"
Yeah. Do you remember the very first time that you were hit or choked or whatever it was? Do you remember the very first occasion of domestic violence?
I do, well, I mean, it starts out mental, verbal, you know what I mean? That isolation, that beat down, okay. I should have went back. I remember, I grew up obviously very religious and went through divorce. I meet this guy we have mutual friends. We're all hanging out. I worked at Applebee's. They came in, and I mean, they had been in and in and in. And, you know, I'd gotten, this is not like I just met him. He was a regular for a year. And we would, after I'd get off work, we'd hang out. And then we kind of we started dating. And I remember him looking at me and saying, you know, you're lucky because no man would want a woman who's got kids and has that kind of baggage. So you need to realize that you're lucky that I'm a good enough guy, that doesn't bother me. So like those are the things of how it starts. And you know, they're predators. They know low self-esteem. So that's kind of where it began. And then I mean it went to just the control thing of
So what back up. I want to so like do you remember when he told you that?
oh yeah.
That's very interesting to me.
Yeah.
Do you remember like what goes through your mind when he says that? Like where were you at home? Were you at a restaurant?
No,
Like
we were sitting there at the table.
okay,
And
so
I'll never forget,
we're
right,
hanging out. We're sitting out here hanging out, and I say, you know, you're awfully fucking lucky because you know you're a young girl, you're pretty, whatever, but you got baggage. You got 2 young kids, so you're lucky that a guy like me is good enough that I'm giving you the time of day because nobody else is going to. What goes through your mind like when you first hear that? Are you like,
So
yeah,
he
that's
kind of
true?
said it in a joking type way. And that's how, you know what I mean? It's like
Gross,
half
yeah.
joking, half not.
Yeah.
And in your mind, you're thinking, are you freaking serious? Like, are you fucking kidding me that you just said that? But then it's in your head. So you're like, you know what? I mean, I've
He's
been,
probably right.
yep, you know, I 25, 26, I, you know, have 2 kids. I get it. Most people don't want the baggage. So it like gets in your head. That was the first. And so that's just the kind of comments that were always getting put in my head. Always. You know, I'm not good enough. It was just, and it wasn't like you're not good at, it was just little things like that.
Yeah, sure.
So then I remember the first time, I forget what we had gotten into. Well, he drinking and
Sure.
acting up.
Yeah.
And he disappeared for a month. And he had went back to one of his baby mamas.
Were you living together at the time?
We were. So we were living together.
Okay.
He had just moved in pretty much and disappeared for a month, was cheating on me with one of his baby mamas. He had 2 kids. And so I was obviously very upset.
Sure.
You know, we were having a fight. Cops got called. I mean, I remember at that one, it was he started out, what did he do? Oh, he kicked a big dent in my car.
Okay.
So, you know, beforehand, it had all been like aggressive behavior, but not like directly to me. It was destroying everything. You know, it didn't matter what I had, he would destroy it. Everything from kicking a dent in my car, you know, the things I worked hard for, he wouldn't really work. I think he had a job maybe 6 months, the 3 years we were together. So I was supporting him, 2 kids, and it was a control thing. But at that point, that was the first time where he had me by the neck up against a wall. And that was like the first deal. And then he even said, his big thing was, well, I didn't hit you. I don't know why you're so upset. Like, I didn't hit you. I would never hit you. I didn't hit you. But when you're getting choked out for your life and think that you're going to die from him choking you.
Yeah, who cares about
then, I mean,
hit?
yeah. And then a lot of times, you know, that's it, throwing things like big 3-wick candle. Well, I didn't hit you. I mean, it went, I don't even know what to say. I mean, now it's almost laughable because it's like, God, I was a dumbass. I mean, but I was so afraid of him that he got in my head that I worried about leaving. Like he would tell me, you know, just by the grace of God that I'm a nice person, you're not at South Mountain Cemetery right now. You know, it's just because I'm a nice person that I haven't killed you for leaving me.
Right.
And I mean, like I quit college because of him. I remember I was at college and came home. I was taking classes in Newcastle and had went in. It was like an 8 o'clock class. He was a big video gamer. That's all he did was drink and play video games and play video games. That's what he did.
How old were you guys at this period?
29.
Were you guys about the same age?
We were within a year of each other.
Okay.
So I can't remember if we got divorced when I was 29 or if we got together when I was 29. That I can't remember.
But
I mean,
then you
honestly,
were only together 3 years anyways, and so
yeah,
you guys were year apart.
So I mean, I can remember, like I said, class got canceled. So it went in for something I don't even remember. Class got canceled. I came home, and the house that I lived in had like 2 living rooms, and one living room was on the south end of the house, and then the bedrooms were on the north end of the house. And our bedroom was right across the hall from my middle kid's bedroom. And I hope she don't hear me telling this. But she was like 3.
She doesn't listen anyway. She'll never know.
Right. She is not listening to this. I don't think neither. Oldest daughter listened. I think she said to like a little bit of it and then hasn't listened to it.
Jesus.
I told you nobody's going to listen to these. No. So I can remember hearing him like spank her. It was down and this was a big, I mean, this house was, I think 2,200 square feet upstairs. So it was a big, long, it was a big house. And I could hear him spanking her and her crying and me like jumping up because he didn't know I was there. He had no idea I was there. So the shock on his face when I hit that hallway coming down was like, what's wrong? He had slept in and wouldn't wake up. And she didn't know I was there because the one living room was at the very end and you went to the kitchen before you got to that bedroom. So she didn't come out. I didn't hear her. I was asleep. She'd gotten crackers because she was hungry. And he lit her up. I mean, I could hear it down the hallway. And I quit college that day and never went back because I was like, I can't leave him alone with him. So I thought by me being around, and especially middle one was little, she was 3 years old, that then they would tell me about it. And, I'm not going to go into the deal with them because that's their story to tell. But he was definitely more, I think, physical, and they've never really, like Ryan's talked about it more so, I guess. I just threw her name out there. But I can remember, and I'm telling these stories again for people just to get an idea of what it is like. And my story is way less severe than most people's stories. But I was waiting tables, bartending, and I'd work a lot of doubles because obviously he didn't work. And I would come in. I have back issues. My dad's got degenerative back disease, and I was a gymnast cheerleader. So, I mean, my back would kill me. And I had back issues. So I would come in and take a bath when I would get off work. And I was not allowed to take a bath with the shower curtain closed because he wanted to be able to walk in and see if I was communicating, talking to anyone, doing anything. I couldn't call a friend without him listening in on the conversation. I was not allowed to talk to anyone without him listening.
So,
getting hot again.
A couple stories here, a couple questions. Number one, do you generally take a bath? Wait, well, first of all, that's probably the good question to start with. Are you a bath taker?
I'm a both.
Okay.
So like shower to get ready, but then
bath to like unwind.
Yep, relax.
Okay. And during those unwinding baths, do you generally have the shower curtain closed?
Yes, because I've always had cats and they like to jump up on the edge and then they fall in the bathtub. It's a big thing. So
isn't that gross? Because then it's like along your body.
No, because it's on the outside. I would put it to the outside.
Okay.
So yeah, the shower curtain. Really? That's what we're talking about is a shower
Well,
curtain.
that was the first part. Then that leads me into the thing. So, And that's just so crazy to me. So what is going through your mind as he's telling you these things? Because now it's progressing, obviously, and it's weirder and weirder. What are you telling yourself to say, like, okay, this is okay, I'm gonna deal with this? Like, that's what I'd like to get into, like, to understand, like, the psychology behind the women saying, like, okay, I can put up with this. Like, that's not that bad.
I think every situation's different. At that point,
Sure, obviously.
well, then, we had custody of his daughter. So then it was like, man, if I leave, she's gonna get shipped back. She's not gonna have anywhere to go. Um, then also it was a matter of, like I was a poor single mom, so I didn't have my car had broken down, like I think the transmission went out. So we had
You're like just trapped.
it was his mom, who was great, gave us a car. And so then it was like, well, if I leave, I don't have a car. I don't have anywhere to go. And that kind of goes circumstances of financial. Single mom, 2 kids, even though he wasn't contributing, we were living, barely getting by. So to save up deposit, to do all of those things, because I knew I couldn't kick him out. Now I knew that once I left anywhere, he didn't have a job, so he couldn't afford to keep it. But he was never going to leave if I kicked him out. So it's just this constant cycle of no car, no the ability to have money, and I think he purposely spent money. Like every penny that we had, he would spend because he did not want me to be able to have any money free and clear to do anything. And so when you're barely getting by anyways, if there was money, he would take it. He would have that money spent. He'd go buy video games, which ended up he was buying drugs. Come to find out and that's a whole other thing, became a very bad drug addict while we were together. And I was clueless.
On what kind of drugs?
So pain pills is what he started
Okay.
out on. And it was just, like hydros. Then he got into Oxycontin. And then, fast forward, finding out later from like friends of his who later got clean, and he was doing meth. He is still to this day strung out. I had not seen him since we split up. I saw him actually one time going into a restaurant across the parking lot. And he like yelled, "Hey, Rachel." And I turned around, and this was like years after. And actually it was Ryan, made a beeline for inside the restaurant or to the car. I can't remember if he was going to the restaurant, we were going to the car. I just remember like being in the parking lot and seeing him. Didn't see him again until a year or 2 ago. His dad died. Now,
Okay.
with me saying all of this, his family, amazing people. I kept contact with them to this day. They are still family to me. They are the greatest people you could. They are just amazing. So went to the funeral. Ryan was nervous about going. She was very, very nervous. His whole family was standing close by, waiting to see if he walked up to talk to me, just to make sure that I felt safe, because they at the time didn't know what all was going on, but then they learned later on. And Ryan said, it was the most empowering thing in the world, because he's gray-headed and tiny, and he's homeless.
I remember her saying this.
Yep. He's literally homeless. So, it just is a matter of, and I will tell you too, that, like in the leaving, when I finally left, I really didn't have the welcome to go home to stay with my mom and dad's, but they did tell me that I could take the girls there. So I took that call that day of letting them know. And then we knew he was a piece of shit. We knew he was horrible, blah, 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 blah. I don't need to hear that. I don't need to hear you're right. Like that's not, you're already so deep down.
It's like the whole thing when you go through a divorce and your buddies and your friends are like want to be like, yeah, that she's a bitch. You're better than her. It's like, nah, I'm still in love. I'm heartbroken. I don't want you. I don't want you to dog her. I don't need you to hear that I'm right. All that stuff. And people are doing what they think is. Some people are trying to do what they think's best. Others are trying to get other digs in, and it's stupid. It's all bad. People just need to be willing to accept it and listen and be like, hey, you want to talk? I'm here to talk.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to talk about something stupid or watch something or cry or whatever, I'm here. But other than that, whatever you need, other than that, I'm shutting the hell up.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing. Now, and you've got a good relationship with your parents now. And I don't know if you don't want to talk about this, that's fine. But you said like you didn't really have like the welcome to go there. Was it just because like they didn't really accept the fact that you were with him?
It is. My parents are very strict people. They're my mom's kind of controlling.
Okay.
I mean, a lot controlling. And so, I moved out at 17 because I had graduated high school and had a 9:00 curfew.
Yeah. Okay.
And also just that, and it wasn't there was no, hey, you can come home, whatever it takes, you come home. And I would not be able to still live my life. And I know that sounds crazy, but I would be going by their rules. I would be going by, and I'm, a 30-year-old woman at this point. So, it wouldn't be, hey, the girls are with their dad. I'm going to go out with friends. It would be, nope, you're not going to do that. You're going to be home by 9:00 or you don't come home, like that kind of thing at 30 years old. And
yeah, it's kind of rough.
Yeah. I mean,
okay.
it is when you've got that. And also you're going through stuff. So you want to be with people that you can talk to. And I didn't have that relationship so it's like, I'm still going through a heartbreak of a separation. You know what I mean? Like leaving, I needed friends. I needed to keep my mind busy. I needed to not think about. And it's also a very small house. And so it would have not been that, it just would have not been and sorry, I'm stuttering around. There was never really that welcome you home with open arms. It was, well, the girls can come here.
Yeah.
And just not that. So they stayed.
And that's good because there's a lot of people like that. I mean, there's lots of things. I mean, that's a pretty common story.
And then two, it was a matter of just being able to be independent because you've been controlled for so long.
That's the other aspect. Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't want to stay there because at that point, I really thought he'd kill my mom and dad. Wherever I was, I really thought that he would kill whoever was around. I truly believed that. Truly believed it. That if he caught it and he got the opportunity, if I was there, he'd kill anybody in the way to get to me.
How long did it take for that to go away?
Well, so I did kick him out of the apartment. And that's how we ended up with my mom and dad, because I'd kicked him out. And I said, and I threatened him. I was like, listen, I called the cops and I was like, I mean it this time. He knew I meant it. I think before all those times.
And that's the most dangerous point.
So I said, you got to go. And I think I even called his mom, was like, he's got to come stay with you. Like, I can't. He cannot be here anymore. This is getting out of I just can't. So I was working and I had gotten like a Monday through Friday. I was working in an insurance company, had a decent job, was making much better money. And I had put back money and had finally bought a car. So he was seeing the independence coming. You know what I mean? Like he knew. So he was getting crazy jealous and crazy territorial. He could see that I was doing better and he did not want that. He would cause me to lose job after job because if I was working, I had independence. So anyways, when he left, I would lock the door. The kids would go to school. I was finally able where I could be home shortly after. So I didn't need him for a sitter. I didn't need him for anything. And I remember there was a pan where he'd made fried potatoes. And I was like, this motherfucker is breaking in our house every day. Every day. and was sleeping there while I was at work and then would disappear, and he got sloppy and left a dirty plate. So I confronted him, called him, was like, "Hey, don't come back here again. I'm telling you, he went in and he kicked the breaker box. I thought he had shut the electricity off. So we were in an apartment at that point, raising hell. And they're like, you have power. They sent a maintenance guy. Even after I told him that, he had broke in and kicked the power where I didn't have power. I didn't realize it for 2 days, a day. And then I was trying to then the next day, I get home that night, didn't have power, call the electric company because they're like, no, you've got power. So I'm like, what's going on? Had to wait for the office to open the next day. So at that point, I had realized that I'm not going to get away from him. And so I'm like, okay, I got to move out. That's where I took the girls because he was coming in while I was there. And I'm like, he can get into this house. I can't even, they had changed the locks and everything. And he had somehow, I still to this day don't know how he got in the house. I don't know. But he was getting in even after the locks were changed. Everything was done. I was like, okay, I got to get the girls to safety. Took them to my mom and dad's. And then I was like, okay, we're going to move out. When I got to the house, to the apartment, and Ryan tells this story that how well I covered up how bad things were. We walked in and every piece of glass, picture frame, everything on the wall had been pulled off, shattered, couch overturned, cushions, everything that he could break in that house, he broke. Everything, every dish, you name it, it was broken into pieces. And Ryan was like, Mom, what is going on? And I didn't think anything of it, but she remembers this and she says, Mom, you never missed a beat. Like, I don't know how you did it, but you said, well, he knew that we were moving. So he pulled everything out of the cabinets and out of the drawers and put it out. So when we start packing, it'll be easy to pack because we just have to pick stuff up and put it right in the boxes. And Ryan goes, not till she was an adult did she realize. She was like, so I just went along with it because I was like, oh, okay. And everything was destroyed. I mean, he destroyed every item I had and every picture. I mean, you name it, he destroyed it all. And he stalked me to the point of found out, he had narrowed it down, kind of figured out that I had moved to what town I'd moved to. When he finally figured out where it was, he called to let me know that he knew where I was. So, and then I think that he found a girlfriend or something that got him occupied. And I think his drinking, he just really threw himself into drinking and heavy drugs and went downhill even more. And yeah, dude. And so with all of this, then I start dating someone in law enforcement.
And that went wonderfully.
Yeah. I mean, with that situation, he also, was horrible. I literally have hospital records from him.
God.
And yep, sure do.
How long into the relationship in that before?
Oh, like month, 2 months. No, 2 or 3 months.
Okay.
Pretty quick. But I will say that after twice, I was like, nope, we were not doing this. He never again put his hands on me. I mean, I will say never again put his hands on me. But dude, the verbal and mental abuse, where I can give an example of, there was a guy that he went to school with. And the guy that he went to school with did, you remember whenever the Medicaid supplements or whatever came out? Like you buy a med sup plan.
Yeah.
I can't remember if anyways, he was doing something in sales. And I knew this guy, but I didn't know him. The ex went to school with him. They played basketball together like they knew each other. And we had a 2-car garage that we pulled in the garage and we entered through the garage. Never used the front door. Never. We got a German Shepherd puppy. So we didn't, it would jump on cars and stuff. So we'd take it out the front door. I don't know how long it could have been there from the day we moved in. I don't know. But that's the first time we'd opened that front door. And there was a card, the business card of a guy that he is friends with. And it was constant accusing. If we saw that guy out, he would be waiting for me to like pay attention to see. And then, I mean, I was afraid to look up from a table because anything that I did, he would accuse me of. It was just nonstop. I mean, I never got a moment's peace with, oh, well, why is he there? Why is the card there? And I was like, I have no idea. Well, I saw one time he looked at you a certain way. So obviously he was here. And I go, so I'm going to be screwing around with a dude and I'm going to ask him to leave his business card in the front freaking door.
Yeah, right.
Like, let's make sense of this.
Yeah.
And I mean, it went on and on. I mean, he literally, the verbal and mental from him was horrible. He would take a gun, put it in his mouth, and say he was going to kill himself and he was going to make me watch it. He was going to do it in front of the kids. And I mean, this was all the time. And just that emotional, like, you're crying, you're begging for them not to kill themselves because at first you really think they're going to do it. Like, please don't do it. You don't want. So, I mean, just the constant begging and pleading to not kill themselves in front of me, to not do it in front of my kids, and then, like one time he would, not just, he did it more than once, but one time was really bad where he would take off in the car and say he was going to drive somewhere and kill himself.
God.
And so, it's like, what do I do? Because I can't call his work, because if I call his work, he's going to get in trouble and lose his job. I don't want that to happen. So then it's the guilt of, you don't want to ruin somebody's life. When I left him, he would be sitting in the house in the dark. He did it more than once. And he also like wouldn't move out. So he would make this arrangement where I worked 24-hour shifts as a paramedic at this time. So he'd be like, well, I need to see my kid. But then he would always find a reason to stay over, always find a reason to still be there, was going through all of my stuff. And literally would come in and be sitting in the dark, like thinking I was going to bring somebody in and he's going to catch me. And we had a big pole barn and he'd hide his car there so that I couldn't see that he was there, and then walk in the house and be surprised by somebody sitting in my house after they had moved out. I would be I remember being at Dollar General buying shampoo, conditioner, deodorant because I worked 24-hour shifts.
Right.
He just needed some and looked up. He was on the passenger side, stared in my window, and then, threw a huge fit that, where was that? What was that?
Yeah. What are you doing with that stuff?
Yep. Whose house? Who are you staying with? Who are you sleeping with? I mean, just complete. And even to this day, he hates me with a passion. I mean, when I had the ambulance wreck that was so bad, somebody had screenshotted it where he was glad, pretty much, kind of like a Charlie, where people are being glad that Charlie Kirk got hurt. Same kind of concept. And, like, that's it. They're always the victim because, cheated on me with, I couldn't tell you how many women, like my kids, he was just not a nice person overall. It was at the beginning. I mean, he, at first we had the issues, then he was good, but then things changed with him and, cheated a lot, did all of that, but there's never any accountability for that, of what all put me through.
Yeah. That is so crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And, we were talking earlier about how, like, I need to cut down smoking. What?
Got to do something about that cough.
Yeah. About how, like, you don't leave the first time because you get something happens. You get choked, or I don't know, your hair's grabbed, or you get punched or slapped, and you're like, holy shit, did that just happen? Like, I didn't just get hit. Like, that guy didn't just hit me. That's nuts. And you're like trying to play that over in your mind. And I've talked to so many people. It's just like, it doesn't seem real. And then you do that thing where you're like, where you tell yourself, like, I'm not somebody that could get hit like that, and you go through that stuff in your mind. And it's just it's so interesting. And it's, that whole thing, man, I imagine there's the case out there. There's the story out there where somebody has done something stupid and they're not that way and it never happens again.
Mm-hmm.
But so often if someone hits you once, if someone pulls your hair, not like in a playful way or what, like if someone's hurting you, if someone hurts you one time, they're going to hurt you again and again and again. And if it's the verbal abuse or the mental abuse, that grows into the other, and it grows into physical abuse or vice versa. And it's all crazy. And that's maddening. I tell you, I am not somebody, I have a temper. I'm so weird. I have a temper, but it is my temper comes up when it's like an injustice, like when I feel like I'm being wronged, something is being wronged, someone is being wronged, or something, whatever. Like it grows and grows and grows, but I don't. And I argue with the best of them, or fight, argue, debate, whatever. And I've been in relationships where we've argued. I've never really been in a relationship where there's been much arguing or debating. Like I've always gotten along pretty well, and both of my relationships. And I'm always very, we've talked about this before when you said like, oh, people don't know a lot about you. I've been divorced twice, and I almost hate telling people that, because I think that people think like, ooh, why? Like what's wrong with him? You know what I mean? And I'm like, maybe he's violent, maybe he's gonna and both of my exes would tell you, first of all, they would have been the ones beating my ass. Definitely my second. But I never mistreated them like that. It was never anything like that. Both of the divorces were weird life shit happening, like things just happened and it sucked. The first divorce was my idea, I wanted, and the second divorce was not. And I'm sure we will definitely talk about this one day. But I can remember one time, and I will tell you, I don't, this makes me feel very bad, and I don't like talking about it. I don't like thinking about it, but I will say it on here. I remember one time. So the guys that go around and like, I knew them in high school. They'd get mad and they'd punch a locker or something, or you'd punch a hole in the wall, or those women who you go to their house and they've got like all these picture frames hung up because they're covering all these holes. I've had people in my family who, who've had situations like that. The guy's been drunk or whatever, and he would never hit or abuse his wife or the kids, but he would punch a wall, and that's a form of physical or mental abuse, or not physical, but that's a form of mental abuse, that letting someone see that, you know what I mean? And so that's not good. I'm not saying like, well, they never got hit, so that's okay. No, that's not okay. You shouldn't be doing that. But there was a time when I lived in Winchester where there was a thing going on, and I'm not going to get into what that thing was, but I was like, I could tell my temper was like really up there. And I was dealing with a lot. My dad was diagnosed with cancer. There was just a lot of stuff going on, and there was a lot of stuff going on. And this was not a me and my wife was arguing. We were on the same side. We were dealing with a thing, and I got angry, and like it was coming up, and I could feel it. And it was one of those times where it's like almost like you think you're having a stroke, like the world starts blacking out. You start getting that tunnel vision, and you hear like ringing in your ears. And it's like your breathing is weird, and you feel like I feel lightheaded. And I punched the wall. I punched the wall in the dining room, and there was just me and my wife. No, I think my mom was there. I think it was me, my wife, and I think my mother was over because my wife and my mother had a business. I think my mom was there. I think she was. She was either there or she got there just as it happened. One of those two things. And so, like, I was not angry at my wife. I'm going to be very clear about this. We were not angry, and we were not fighting. We never hardly did that. I mean, we would have disputes, but whatever. And I punched the wall, and the instant I did it, I was like, like, I couldn't believe, like, it was like instantly I came back into my body, and I was like, oh my God. Now, we had been married at this point, like, quite some time. Like, we knew each other's ins and outs. No one on the face of this earth knows me like Joni does still at this point, I would say. We'll have to find out if someone does. I don't know at some point, but I don't know. Anyways, and I remember, like, instantly, I apologized. I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I was so afraid. And, like, I went through a period, like, I got depressed after that because I was like, oh, she's going to look at me different. She's going to think, like, well, he punched a wall. It's the very first time I did that. Like, I was 38. It took me 38 years to do that. I've not done anything since. Like, and I told myself, like, I'm never going to do that again. And it's just weird because, like, I remember that feeling, and it just turned my stomach. It made me I was so mad at myself that I let that happen. I could not imagine putting my hands on a woman. Now, what are you, it's always interesting when you hear women. So when you're in a situation where you've got a woman out there that's puts her hands on a man, just beat, and spit and carrying on, like, what happens at that point? What are you thinking? Because I tell you what my opinion is. I still think there's women out there that could lay me out, knock me out in a punch, like or whatever, Ronda Rousey or whatever, or whoever that is. Like, I would stand no chance against that woman. She would kill me. You know what I mean? I still don't think, like,
that's what they call my older daughter.
Yeah, right.
She's so strong. Her husband's like, okay, Rhonda, come pick this up for me. It's too heavy for me to lift.
That's hilarious. That makes sense to me. But, like, what about, because there are people out there like, look, if you're a woman and you're hit and you deserve it. And I'm like, nah, I still can't get behind that.
I mean, as a woman,
it's always so interesting.
If I were to hit a man, I completely expect to be hit back.
Oh, no.
Now, with that being said, if a man were to hit me back, that would show a lot of his character, because if he can't restrain me, take me to the ground, and do things without, because it's not a level playing field. But I mean, but then again, I've taught my daughters, like, talked about it. Hey guys, you got to realize, like, if you're going to square up on a guy, you better be prepared for what, because I see girls.
Because there are men out there that will do it.
Oh, and I see girls out there all the time that use that to their advantage. Their men will be fighting, obviously in what I did for, being a medic.
Yeah.
Two guys fighting, and a girl thinks she's going to get in on it. And then they're like, oh, and a lot of times the guy's just swinging for his life. He's not realizing it, clocks the girl. And then it's like, I can't believe he hit me. You got in the middle of grown men fighting.
Yeah, right.
But same, I mean, just me personally,
if
I were to square up on a guy and hit him, I would expect to get hit back. And like you were talking about the whole, how you felt after. And I think every girl who's been through abuse, like, they feel the same guilt after, like, how did I let this happen to me?
Yeah.
How did this go on? How did I let it get this far? How am I this deep in? And now, like, I'm so deep in, I should have left the first sign. I should have left the second time. I should have left. And it just, you go through your head. And then, I'd like to know the statistics of how many women who commit suicide are victims of domestic violence. Because I'll tell you, with the second one, and I think I've only told about 4 people this in my life, but I absolutely tried to off myself. And it was that thing of, like, my kids don't deserve this, but I can't get away. So the only way that I can get my kids out of this is to not be here. So, I mean, I would be very interested to know the statistics. And I don't know if you would really be able to track that, because I mean,
You
if the
never know.
offer
Maybe
says
they,
you can't report it. But I mean, I just don't think that people realize the mental, and two, even in abuse, like with the first one, he would mentally drain me to keep me up all night long fighting with me, knowing that I didn't have the energy to go to work. I mean, he kept me mentally exhausted where everything was a fight. It was all day, every day. Um, and literally sleep deprived me. And he knew what he was doing because then whenever I went to work, he could sleep. But then when I came home, we went right back at it again.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so, like, you can't even think clearly. And I'm not saying that's the way it is with everybody.
sure.
But, anyways, I mean, we've talked forever about it. Nobody wants to hear all my, like 50 million stories of boo.
No,
It's horrible.
that's what it
But
is.
it is just, I want people to understand that there's so many different varieties of the way people can be abused. And so, I mean, really just realizing that 1 in 4 people have a story like what I'm telling.
Yeah. Oh,
And I'm
and
gonna say it's
worse.
more than that.
Yeah.
Um, and then also, being careful of what you say because that's the thing that sticks out along with all the shit I went through. It's, "Oh, I could never imagine that happening to you. You're so strong-willed." So then you're like, "Well, damn it." I mean, and then
Yeah.
also, I didn't want people to be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, like you're a victim." Because then once I got right out of it, I finally felt free. So then for people to
Sure.
call me a victim, I'm like, "Well, I'm finally out of it." Now, yeah, damn straight I was a victim. I don't need a pity party. It sucks. Uh,
Yeah.
and I think that that's why I'm like, I mean, honestly, and my kids are this way too. If you put up boundaries, you act tough, then
Mhm.
people never think that you could be vulnerable because when you've went through shit like that, you learn, like, if you're weak or vulnerable, people take advantage of you.
Mhm.
That was what I've talked about. People be like, "Why did you pick him?" Because I try to look at the best of everyone and I'm like, "Oh, I mean, this is such a great guy and he's just misunderstood and like, you know, he could have a job, like he just grew up where he didn't graduate high school and so therefore he's not given an opportunity and if I can help him, I know people."
I can fix it.
Yes, dude. Ugh.
Yeah, right.
By the way,
Yeah.
people, you can't. You
Yeah,
can't
right,
fix it.
right.
If they haven't fixed it on their own,
Yeah.
they're not gonna fix it.
Yeah, yeah. So, is there a level of PTSD from that, like, into a next relationship or whatever? Like, you're, like, just waiting for the shoe to drop?
I felt bad for Kendall's dad because he had to deal with the aftermath.
Yeah.
Um, and just even like the way that I reacted because I would do anything to avoid controversy because if you spoke up or, so and just a lot of like I even now, if I go take a bath and my husband comes in and throws that shower curtain open, it goes right through me where it is fight or flight. I'm just like, and it's not the case, but it's just that, dude, I deserve my privacy now. Or if I mean, there are certain things, the shower curtain is a big one, and I know that's so weird, but just to have somebody like watching you take a bath, you can't relax, you can't do anything. Um, but yeah, I mean, I feel even to this day, there's
That's it, yeah,
still,
sure. Things that would trigger you.
hmm yep.
That's
So
interesting.
that's what I got, people. So one, don't abuse people. This is our takeaway. Don't be
Don't abuse people!
don't verbally or mentally abuse them. Um, if you know someone going through it, just listen and,
Yeah.
offer. Just be like, "Hey, I get it. You're not ready to go." Because if every time that they're trying to leave and you're telling them leave that, they don't want to call you anymore. So just if they call you once a month and they're ready, just listen.
Mhm.
Don't pass judgment on it. Just let them keep talking. Eventually they'll do it. They will leave. Um, and then, it sucks all around. I don't know what else to say about it, but there's me opening up to a bunch of freaking strangers that really probably could care less or don't know, but I just feel like that a lot of people who do know me perceive me as a very strong person. A lot of my family, this will be the first they hear of it. A lot of my mom used to my mom used to leave Ann Landers. Like if somebody would write in and be like, my daughter-in-law's being abused or my daughter's being abused, she would leave them on her kitchen table. So whenever, because she babysit the girls, whenever I'd go pick them up, that would be in the little bag of the girls. But in all of that time of me that happening, they clearly knew it, but they never once just said, is he beating you?
Yeah, right.
They never asked. They never talked about it.
Yeah.
Never, like everybody just kind of pretended like it didn't happen. Even to this day, we don't talk about it. We still don't talk about it.
Yeah, it's like
Me and the girls will, but not my parents.
Yeah, right. That's very interesting. That kind of like that. It is a taboo subject, and it is, but we need to work to destigmatize it all the way around, because like I think you said, we need to look at victims as more than just the victims, not look at them as quote unquote victims, survivors or whatever, but they're people dealing with something, and not all victims are like lower class. I mean, that's just such a god awful way to think about that. It's just somebody going through something, and everybody up on the upper end, they go through it too. They just deal with it differently. And some of them deal with it the same way. You just don't hear about the same, but we need to not stigmatize, the people going through it. And there's just so much of that stuff that you need to realize that it can happen to men, just because that's not the commonplace. It does happen. And I think we just need to be able to listen and react. Probably we need to think before acting or think before reacting. You really need to think about what's being said. What am I going to do? Am I doing more harm than good? The number one thing is I think people need to tell people to, reach out. Counseling. You can do counseling. You contact your church, or any church. There's people that you can talk to if you just need to talk, and not if you're not ready to leave or whatever. But there's also places that you can go to. There's things that you can do. Obviously, the Domestic Violence Hotline. Again, the number we've been putting up at the screen every so often, it's 800-799-SAFE. 800-799-SAFE. That's 800-799-7233. Or you can call 911. That'll do it for you. So that's it. Well, I think that's going to do it. Do you have anything else?
Yes, I do. Our next show is going to be something positive.
It's going to be so happy.
I don't care. I don't. I mean, but hey, I am going to say this. The last 3 topics I've picked. So one, if they suck, people blame me. But you've got to think of something positive. I mean, I just told my life story, dude. Clearly, It's not positive. It's not happy. It's not bubbly. I live in darkness and sadness.
Listen, I have a really good topic for next episode, and it wouldn't be anything like this, but it's also not. It could be like it would be like, oh, like that kind of sad. I don't know. I got some ideas. I will think about it. Listen, if you out there want to help us with the topics, if you want to hear something positive, something that we don't need to put up the suicide hotline for, because you've listened to the show, you could email us and let us know. You email us at bcshowdump at gmail.com. You can do it there. You can get a hold of us on Twitter or X, Bilbrey X Clark, at Bilbrey X Clark. You can get a hold of us on Facebook, facebook.com/Bilbrey Clark Show.
Ooh, speaking of bcshowdump at gmail.com, I want everyone to send in like ideas for the show.
Nudes.
No.
Only 50% of you send in nudes. We just won't tell you which 50%.
But definitely send in ideas. I mean, I think that, and then also I want opinions. Bilbrey, when do we have our first guest on the show? Like how I want feedback from everybody on when you would like a guest, if you want that in the future, if you like the way things are going, let us know. I'm dying to know.
I like how things are going, but we've talked about guests. We do need to have guests.
I'm asking the people who are listening. Nobody cares what you think.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true.
I only care about what the audience thinks.
Listen, while we were on the show tonight, I want to read this to you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever do interviews or have guests? Wow, yes, I do.
Fun
This person
fact.
says, I am a local five-time felon.
Go on.
I'm intrigued. Is this person seeking does this person want to hook up? I am a local 5-time felon that's turned my life around and started a business where you bring me your car keys and I swipe your car. No. Have started a business. I've spent a lot of time in blank county jail. And I have lots of experience with the local justice system, as well as being a pretty well-known name in blank county and the community for both the wrong and, more recently, right reasons. I've ran recovery meetings, and I've got high with probably every addict in blank and half of the rest of blank county.
Does he know my ex-husband?
I will reach out. Well, we don't know what county we're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I have been in front of every judge in blank county in the last 15 to 20 years. I have had personal encounters with 75% of the police force. Spoiler alert, I literally can tell personal stories about most of them. Now that I'm sober, have nothing bad to say about any of them. I could give food. I could give food insight. All right. No, I think he's saying I could give good insight in general into Indiana's recovery community. I have experience with sober living and rehab facilities all over the state of Indiana. I would be willing to do an interview with you. I've been featured in stories on a radio program, as well as a Newsbreak app this year for recovery endeavors in blank county, but never done an interview or a podcast before. You can my case or docs pops me, whatever. I'd be willing to be honest and answer any questions you could come up with, whether it be about my charges or the blank county justice system or my experiences with the blank county jail, police, or corrections departments. I also have some personal experiences as well as things I've heard about blank person, the blank. And so that could be an interesting story, an interesting thing. If people are interested in that, I'm interested in hearing stories about people's recovery things. I think that's a very big topic. I know a lot of people deal with that. I mean, everybody's touched with drug abuse and that whole life at some point in some way. So that could be interesting.
Yeah. Does that guy want to go on your other show? Or
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it matters. Maybe both, maybe none, maybe all. But I don't know. It don't matter to me.
I mean, I just don't want to like bring him on and then be like, wait a minute, who's this chick?
Yeah, nobody
cares
about
this. At all what I thought I saw before.
I could talk to him. Listen, this is probably not going to be on next time. Right. But if I just read that off and the people are like, oh, yeah, that'd be badass, I would talk to this person and see if they'd be interested in doing one or both. It don't matter to me. We could do both, or, it could be a 2 for 1 or a 1 for none, whatever. It don't matter to me. You've got some people that we could reach out to. I've got an interesting guy that I'm getting ready to start talking to. That's very interesting. He was on death row. I've talked about this a couple times. On death row in a different state for capital murder. He was murder was the case that they gave him, but he didn't do it. And so he's now out and he is thriving in his community, doing some good work. And I think it's a fascinating story. So we're going to do that.
I would love to talk to him. And, I've got someone that I know that actually was on a murder one trial and actually got acquitted. It happens all the time.
Acquitted.
Yes.
Now,
your other guy, your guy obviously was sitting death row, but you know what? We wouldn't have the Innocence Project if people weren't getting accused of shit.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're interested in any of that, let us know. And other than that, we will be back here next Saturday, same bat time, same bat channel.
Damn straight.
Until then, Christopher Bilbrey.
And
until then, it's Clark. Christopher Bilbrey.
And I'm Rachel Clark.
This has been the very successful episode 003 of the Bilbrey and Clark show. And we are saying goodbye.
That's a wrap for the Bilbrey and Clark Show. Be sure to like, subscribe, and or follow, depending on the platform you're on. Follow the show on X at BilbreyXClark or on Facebook at facebook.com/Bilbrey Clark Show. And email your hot takes to bcshowdump@gmail.com. New episodes drop every Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, X, and all podcast platforms, including the home site at BilbreyClarkShow.fireside.fm. That's going to do it for the Bilbrey and Clark Show. So be sure to share the show with everyone you know.